Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am Jermaine Kripe, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am a member of your Lifespan Ministry team here at Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Summit. We are so glad you guys joined us today. If you're here virtually, please share your name, your pronouns, and the land you're tuning in from in the chat. My words come to you from Summit, New Jersey, the lands of the Lani Lenape. We are a community committed to radical inclusion, feeding the human spirit and healing the world. So we welcome you on this journey and look forward to learning with you. To that end, please visit our lobby table right out front after services and visit Sarah Edvilson, or visit our website to learn more about our community groups that registration has already begun. Registration ends on September 15th, so sign up as soon as you can. We are magnifying the light here at Beacon, and we know that it takes many, many sparks from all over the world to bring more love, more hope, and more justice by sharing our light, growing it, and bringing it across the world. Don't feel particularly glowy today? That's okay. That's what community is about. And we share the light that we have, and when ours feels a little barely there or blown out, we rekindle together once more. So, let us worship together. Let us rekindle this light and magnify it. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Wim Sveldens. My pronouns are he, him, and we will now light our chalice. From this small flame, we come together in community. Some light, like the stars, traveling millions of miles, echoing across the universe, reaching us from ancient history. Some light, like the spark in a first strike of a match, a beginning, a new source, a signal of change. Some light, gathered candle by candle, shared but never diminished, flame to flame, until the path to justice, wholeness, and true peace is illuminated.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Tuli Patel, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. Gather the salty waters of the before time, volcanic pools, hot springs, rising life, vast oceans across continents, and people beneath barnacles and splendid formations, finding the common waters of sorrow, celebration, desire, and dreaming. Come, waters of the ancient ones, whisper the wisdom loose in ourselves.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body.
Wake now our springs and wells of knowing the hope and the haunting of water. The waters rising as surely as thirst grows in other lands. Arise now our senses to the tributaries and the rivers connecting us. To the vessels we can build together to ferry to the other side. Come waters of the here and now, flow freely where the land is parched, and recede where injustice floods the streets.
Gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near.
Release now the waters of imagination, the vision of days magnified by the dew at dawn. Rainbows streamed beyond our present vision. Our lives, the buoy, the harbor, and the port. Soften us like stone tumbled in water. Steady witness to the refractions and the reflections. Our dreaming be theirs to do.
Gathered here in one strong body, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near.
Thank you so much. That was Misa and Elise with John. So Reverend Robin and I have a story for you this morning. So the word for water in Arabic is maya. I've been practicing all week. It's good to know the word for water in many languages because who knows where you will travel, right? So here's our maya for this morning. And I'm going to need your help in telling this story. You all can make some noises, some sounds. You can stomp, yes? Or you can make like rain. You can make like rain, yes? Or you can go like, let me hear it, because it's going to come. Let me hear the slurp. Good, you guys got it. Okay.
Some of us really love that sound.
Exactly. So, once upon a time, there was a water molecule named Maya. Maya was very special. You see, Maya knows and knew practically everything. When the world was nothing but a swirling pool of amino acids, Maya met the first little protozoa. She was so cute. Maya called her Polly. When the dinosaurs first came into being, Maya was lapped up by a thirsty brontosaurus named Billy. Lapping. Yes. Maya had so much fun bouncing in Billy's body, refreshing each and every cell until suddenly he landed in the soil of what is now Colorado. Maya got picked up by the rain and taken down the mighty Mississippi, which sounds a bit like Mississippi. Out from the Mississippi, Maya sailed through the Gulf of Mexico and the mighty winds. There we go. All the way over to North Africa, where he watched the first humans walk. Maya sizzled on fires in Morocco and went back up into the air. He reigned down into the soil of Iraq just before a brave man, Imam Hussein, was killed. Maya was sad to see such violence. He was carried by Joan of Arc as blessed waters strapped to her steed, who could run like...
Maya waited in a swamp in South Carolina for months until he clung to the dress of a woman named Harriet, leading the way toward freedom. A man named Gandhi guzzled up Maya. Another named Martin sweat Maya out and preached like fire, sending Maya flying across a pulpit in Alabama.
Is there a sound for sweat?
Profuse sweat. And one day, ever so quietly, Maya traveled through pipes and plants and then right out of the tap into this glass right here. Maya is joining others like him who have been here at Beacon for the past 27 years, made safe for us all after some sterilization. Like the other drops in the cup, if you can hold Maya up to the light will bend and maybe even break into a rainbow. Kind of like the rainbow patch that we are going to be giving some of you today. A reminder to be kind and to make friends, especially with those who seem lonely. Not just the gift of rainbows, but also the gift, beloved, of magnification. If you look through a collection of drops of water, what happens? What happens? Things seem larger, bigger, humongous. Today, humongous, the all-knowing eye of Dr. Tooley. Today, we bless these patches with Maya and his friends. And we hope that you will carry this memory through the year. And if you are ever feeling small or lost or alone, look for that rainbow on your backpack. Imagine yourself as if seeing yourself through a glass of water, magnified, special, magnificent, and never alone. Know that as Maya travels with you this year in school, Maya still gets that tingling sense of wow, of wonder, to still be here on this blue boat home. We're going to welcome forward, when we do our candle lighting, all of our children and adults who are going back to school, anyone who's going back to school this year. We're going to welcome you to come and take one of our Beacon rainbow patches.
It's an iron-on. You can iron it on. We tried.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Jeannie Siegel, she, her, and I am a chaplain here at Beacon. Hence the scarf. This is not a fashion statement, but this is what we Beacon chaplains wear when we come here. Beacon chaplains extend the spiritual care of our community. And one of the rituals of our spiritual care is our community candle lighting. Together, we light candles of joy, we light candles of sorrow, and we light candles of gratitude. Today, we are going to light a candle of commemoration for the day of celebration of Ashura. and we are going to light a candle of sorrow for the 6-month anniversary of the war in Ukraine, and another candle of sorrow for the suffering of the people in Pakistan. It was caused by the floods. For all this and so much more, we invite you now to come forward and light a candle here in the sanctuary, in your home, or wherever you are. Thank you.
My Lord said unto me, do you like my garden so fair? You may live in this garden if you keep the grasses green, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. This earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, who walks in the cool of the day. My Lord said unto me, do you like my garden so pure? You may live in this garden if you keep the waters clean, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. This earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, who walks in the cool said unto me, do you like my garden so pure? You may live in this garden if you keep the waters clean, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. This earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, who walks in the cool of the day.
Good morning. I'm Jen Scarter McCann, she, her, member of your stewardship team and endowment committee. One of my jobs is for my family's bank in New Mexico. And I find it fitting that I'm here on Water and Gathering because water is a topic of frequent conversation in New Mexico. We actually start literally every meeting twice a week reporting what's in our rain gauge, just, because we always need to know. But as the granddaughter and great-granddaughter of a banker, I grew up with a lot of mixed messages about money. One of those was that we were a small bank in a small town, and there was no room for all of us at the bank. We needed to go out, do our own thing. So I was a little surprised a few years ago when it turned out I was working for the family business. I was not trained as a banker. None of us grew up being trained as bankers. We weren't supposed to work there. So I went to work, a little worried because I had no idea what I was doing as a banker. I was surprised to learn that a lot of those mixed messages I grew up with were not the ones that got used at the bank every day. I found sort of an unexpected amount of generosity in a bank. Almost every week in my meetings, I hear a story that goes something like, I know those numbers aren't good, and this guy's idea is a little crazy. Your granddaddy always loved him, thought he would do good things. And that is where they focus on. They focus on how do we help our customers do more than they can do on their own, and how does it affect the very small town that they live in. It's still a business, it's still a bank, it's still part of a quite flawed system, to be honest. So it's not, beautiful sunshine and roses and happy times, but I've learned there's a way of thinking and approaching the work there that's not dissimilar to what we do here at Beacon. Every time we fundraise, we're focusing on building our community. We ask for your generosity so we can do more together than each one of us can do alone on our own. And we put our community first, whether that's here in the walls of Beacon, whether it's in Summit, whether it's in a broader sense, we're focusing on building our community. We can support our youth in RE while we work together for reproductive justice. We can make plans for a new expanded building while we also ensure that Beacon will still be here for our community well into the future. So I've been pleasantly surprised to find more generosity in my workplace than I expected to, but I can honestly say it's the other way around, right? It's been my work here at Beacon that's allowed me to see those examples of generosity and community building in the world and to amplify it. I'm not going to say that everything's perfect at work. It's not. It's good. I can say so far no one has looked at me when I've asked questions like how does this affect our community here in New Mexico, and then said you're a crazy liberal and we're not going to listen to you and they want me to leave the room. Hasn't happened yet. So it's one of the many reasons that I'm grateful for having Beacon in our lives. We do so much for each other, and we also do so much for each other individually. We empower each other to take the things that we do here out into the world and continue them happening. Thank you so much for your generosity and support in building our community.
Thank you, Jen. Our morning offering will now be most gratefully received.
Since 1980, Unitarian Universalists have celebrated Water Communion. Those of you who showed up today not knowing what we're doing, this is your intro, right? It was begun at the Women in Religion Continental Convocation of Unitarian Universalists in East Lansing, Michigan by Carolyn McDade and Lucille Shuck Longview. It was originally used as a ritual for women to amplify the work that they were doing individually and locally and connect it to the larger whole. Sometimes we feel alone, right? We're doing our little thing over here and we're like, is this having any impact? What am I doing? So this is a way to connect all of it to the larger whole. As you bring forward your water or pour at home, perhaps quenching your own thirst or pouring water into a house plant, all of which are symbols of renewal, this ritual invites us to recall those who have taught us to love, who by their very lives allow you to swim, to shimmer, to sustain from day to day, to magnify your gift of love to the world.
Through these collective streams, we recall now the vast ocean of our strength, the depth of the channels, and all that endures when fires burn and haze descends. In this ritual, may we see clearly our collective strength and call. So we invite you to bring your waters forward, waters of justice and waters of hope, waters of magnification, to connect the work of your life to the whole of this community. Your waters join with waters of decades past to bless our futures. If you've forgotten your water, don't worry. Don't stay seated. Please come and use one of our pitchers representing our past, present, and future to add to the collective waters.
A
So
few
pl-
additional instructions. If we could please make 2 lines down the center, and then this side goes back this way, this side goes back this way. Otherwise, our water in gathering will be very long this afternoon. Additionally, if you have brought a backpack, if you would bring it forward and place it on the steps, not where somebody can trip over it. We're used to this, right? We don't sling our backpacks in school hallways. We put them away, right? So put them in the front where people won't trip over them. Please, won't you come forward? 2 lines and then going back down.
The water is wide, I can cross o'er, and neither have I wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry 2, and both shall row, my love and I. There is a ship, and she sails the sea. She's loaded deep, as deep can be, but not so deep as the love I'm in. I know not how I sink or swim. Though I may speak with bravest heart, and have a gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given my words within, the prophet soon turns strangely again. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
Our vocalist. Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Misa, and thank you, John. Well, friends, I have a little story to share with you. And it's, strangely enough, not a story about an RV. If you were here last week or if you watched this online, you get that joke. I was in an RV for 11 days over sabbatical with all 5 of our children, and we all came back. So that's that story. No, I want to tell a story about when I first interviewed here at Beacon, and I spent just about 10 days getting to meet many of you in small groups, and then, of course, leading services twice, and there was a big vote after the second one. So this was before the vote took place. And, you know, we had a packed week. It was like meeting after meeting, and there wasn't much time even like for lunch or so, but the committee did a great job. I see some of them out there. That's not a... We're not voting today, are we? Okay. Whew. So, Thule very kindly recognized that our schedule was packed and said, well, why don't we run down to Tito's Burritos just down the street, and we'll get some takeaway lunch. We'll come back, and we can eat it during our next meeting. So this was obviously pre-COVID-19, and Tito's then, I don't know if they do now, I don't get out much, but they used to have a salsa bar with like 12 different kinds of salsa, like pineapple jalapeno and mango and chipotle, and you get the idea, right? And they had these little containers that you would put whichever one of the salsas you wanted into, put the lid on, then they had tiny little brown paper bags that you put your individualized salsas in. It was beautiful. So I began dutifully with like my little bag and picked out a couple of different salsas and put them in my bag. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see that Dr. Thule has clearly accidentally placed one of her salsas in my bag. Now, the vote hasn't happened yet, so I just pick up an extra bag and I say, you know, they have bags. Yes, I know, she says. And I think, well, maybe she just didn't realize. So I move the bag just a little closer to me as I go for my third selection. And it's then that I see out of the corner of my eye, Dr. Thule places 2 additional salsas in my bag. And now I know this is not an error. So I look at her and say, would you like me to get you a bag for your salsas? No, she says. It's just, we'll share. It's our salsa. Well, you can imagine my thought process. Do I say something else again, or do I just keep it to myself? And you know what I did. I said something. But I started thinking about what to do, because I could accidentally get like a salsa verde when I thought I was going for a pineapple jalapeno. And what a disaster that would be to place a chip in a surprise salsa. So I say, well, how will we know whose salsa is whose if they're all in one bag? And that's when Thule said, Robin, we'll share. Well, I'm happy to report that we survived Salsa Palooza of 2016. And in that moment, I experienced one of Thule's gifts and a strength at Beacon. We share. We try new ways. Maybe the Salsa Palooza wouldn't have worked. But you know what? I kind of enjoyed it. Beacon is a place where we are deeply trying to welcome multiple theologies, multiculturalism, different spiritualities, and to eradicate white supremacy culture that frankly would give us one bag and no salsa. gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here across the live stream in the struggle and the power. I would imagine most of us in this space have heard that phrase, we don't see the water we're swimming in, hands. And generally, right, it's used to describe a situation where someone might come into a place, a school, a business, a congregation, and see something bad is the implication, that those who have been there for a while have either never seen or become accustomed to, right? We don't see the water we're swimming in is usually about trying to gain an awareness and insight to look fresh at things. I think it's valuable and important to notice what ought to be changed, eradicated, dismantled. In fact, this is the premise of many of the awakenings across human history. But I also know that liberation is not only found in the act of eradication. I know that we also have to possess a prophetic imagination, a sourcing of what is good, and the knowledge and tenacity to magnify it. As Unitarian Universalists, we have an awareness that humans have an ability to transform, to be bearers of goodness as surely as a species as we can cause harm. But there's no concupiscence in our faith. That's a $2 seminary word. It means an inclination towards sin or evil. There is a choice, there is conditioning and learning and unlearning. There is the gift of the mind and spirit to discern, but we aren't kind of geared toward one way or the other, even pre-birth. This year's theme at Beacon is magnifying the light, not in a commercial, look at my sparkly self way, but that's okay too. I mean, I've seen some sparkles right here on the backpacks. But more so, what we're talking about when we say magnify the light is to source the light that is here, to have the intention to discern the gifts that are present and learn how to build on them, and most importantly, share them. When I meet with couples who are getting married, I ask them in premarital counseling about all the topics you would think about, how you handle money, physical intimacy, what's your common fight that you keep returning to always about. But I also ask them to share what they cherish about one another. What are they good at as a couple? What do they hope they will still be doing in 10 years? Not that, other things. I recently worked on getting a tutor for our teenager at home for the ACT and SAT, and I started the process by explaining that we didn't need a verbal tutor. They're very good at the verbal components. We needed to work on the math, and so I just wanted someone to tutor for the math. And the instructor said, but that's not how we work. Because if verbal is a strength, we want to build on the strength at the same time that we work on the area there is a gap. Beacon is one of the rare Unitarian Universalist communities, and I mean this truly, with a range of theologies and spiritualities that are deeply rooted. We have liberal Christians beside humanists with equally deep understandings of how they have come to those theologies and spiritualities and truths. Buddhism here, for example, is not a topic skimmed from the surface, but rather practiced. And when we call forth a meditation group, Dr. Tooley and others come in to say, what is the practice? What is the teaching? What is your understanding? There's a spiritual maturity in this place that I think sometimes we take for granted, just like the water we're swimming in. This gives me hope. This spiritual maturity gives me great hope that we have skills to work more deeply toward anti-racism and multiculturalism, that there's something even here in the floorboards that gives us more to do than just undoing. Yesterday, I was so grateful to be invited to Masjid Ali for Ashura, which is an Imam Hussein Day. If you don't know, for some Muslims, Imam Hussein Day is the commemoration and remembrance of when the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad was killed for refusing to swear allegiance to an unjust ruler. It is said that just before Imam Hussein was murdered, along with 72 members of his family, with everyone gone, and Imam Hussein alone there in a field surrounded by thousands of soldiers, he cried out, "Is there anyone to help me? Is there anyone to stand for justice?" And the teaching, according to Dr. Noor Zaid, who was one of our lecturers yesterday at the event, is that Imam Hussein did not cry out because he thought someone in that moment was suddenly going to appear. He obviously was capable of knowing that the end was near and that there was no one to help him. He didn't cry out for the moment, Dr. Noor told us. No, he cried out for future generations who would echo again and again in this act of commemoration as a rededication of their lives. We are here. Yesterday, as everyone gathered for this commemoration, again and again, chanting was heard, "Labbaik ya Hussein, I am here, Hussein." Sometimes the light, the goodness, the spark in the floorboards, that might be a bad analogy because we don't want things to burn down, but you get it. Sometimes the witness and the courage are seeded thousands of years before it is taken up and magnified. What do you love, beloved, in your life? What is good of those with whom you live and work in this congregation? What goodness can you magnify in this year? What light that is already present, perhaps given to us by spiritual ancestors thousands of years ago, like a star across the universe, is reaching us just for this moment? Perhaps at the edge of this new school year, we don't need resolutions to be a whole new person. Perhaps it is more than enough to praise the holy goodness, to go more deeply into it. Not more achievement, not only what must be undone, but perhaps there's a sight of light where you can bring the waters of this community and magnify it. The waters of your deepest self, the waters of Beacon. Take courage, friend. We never know the moment when the rainbow breaks loose. So may we be blessed to be beacons in this weary and wonderful world. Amen.
So we're going to close today by singing Blue Boat Home. Now there are hymnals that are going to be passed out, and if you would like one, you could raise your hand, and we're to say thank you so much to the ushers today and to our audiovisual team, members of the board, worship associate, John O'Neill on piano is amazing as always, and Elise Hendricks. Thank you for joining your voice. And I hope that we can go into this week with the spirit of the Blue Boat Home. Though below me I feel no more
Take a moment now to bless our backpacks. So glad that so many of you brought these backpacks. As Unitarian Universalists, it's important that we remain curious, that we challenge in a polite and kind way. Yes, you all know how to do that, right? Yes. That we are patient and that we are understanding, and that we especially watch out for somebody who might be on the margins so that we can draw them in. Reverend Robin is blessing backpacks with our collected waters from past generations, and she's also offering each backpack. Some of you are off on new adventures. Some of you, school has already started, right? Some of you have started. Wow, that's amazing. So we're also giving you a little bit of light from our chalice to remember that Beacon is your spiritual community. Bring us your joys, bring us your sorrows, bring us all that you have to share. Let us now bless our waters together. These waters will be drawn to dedicate our children and grandchildren, to bless our homes and sanctuary, to nourish our community.
These waters are messages out from each of us. They can be used to bless or devastate, welcome or deny, magnify or diminish.
We are drawn by these waters, sustained by these waters. We live at the edges of their power and devastation sometimes. We bear witness to the injustice of their denial.
May these waters call us back to our gifts, to our powers, to heal and transform, to magnify the light together.
Droplet by droplet, to bring undeniable beauty, to be the reminder of the love that does not let go, of the light that endures in each of us. So may these waters hold us, nourish us, and call us into the world once more.
I invite you, as you're comfortable given the pandemic, to take hands or elbows, or perhaps to put arms on shoulders. Now, as we depart, we will extinguish this flame, but not the truth it signals, that the light goes with each of you always. Share it freely, magnify it until we meet again. Know that this love holds you across struggle, across time, across space and sorrow. Beacon, shine on.